You're listening to the Fortnight Podcast, where today we have Alex Smith, founder of creative events agency Plain Jane Events. We talk about COVID hit events, staying positive, digital transformation, and much more. Let's get to it, shall we? Yeah, so thank you for joining me with the second episode of the Fortnight Podcast. It's great to have you here, Alex. How have you been? How has lockdown treated you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm good, just kind of like surviving every day, juggling motherhood and with a little toddler and running a business, and trying to find some me time in the middle of it all, which is kind of challenging most days. But yeah, all good. Thank you.
Yeah, and I had a little deep dive on your Instagram and on Plain Jane Events Instagram, and I noticed one of your kind of habits is to reheat a cup of coffee. Have you done that today, or?
Yeah. Oh, it's my cup of tea every morning without fail. It really is. That's just mum life, though.
Yeah.
I've made myself a cup of tea. This morning it was 4:30 a.m. when my toddler got up, so that was like stupidly early. And so I had a cup of tea, and then you just don't ever finish it. So yeah, in the microwave twice this morning.
Yeah.
But,
It reminded me of something I bought. So I bought this cup it's meant to keep your coffee warm to like a drinkable temperature. I bought it, used it, left it for half hour, didn't work. I was so disappointed.
oh, shame. Chili bottles are good. I actually
Bottles.
make like hot tea in the chili bottle now. And when I go out with the buggy and stuff, I know that even 2-3 hours later it'll still be lovely and warm. Good
Yeah.
old fashioned flask.
Oh
Sam.
yeah, I did have a flask, but I just find like the lip where you're drinking, sometimes, especially if like before lockdown and everything, when we're on trains and stuff, it's just
Yeah.
difficult to drink.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, for kind of our listeners and watchers who kind of haven't heard about you and Plain Jane Events, it'd be great to
Yeah.
just hear a brief history of how you guys started.
Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. So yeah, we're Plain Jane Events, and it's my little baby. It's my first baby. It was born sort of 12 years ago, really, out of kind of a desire to want to have my own business, be my own boss, plan parties for the rest of my life. And I was an event manager. Most of my career I've been in events. So this was kind of like a natural progression really for me. And so I went official with Plain Jane in 2010, and so yeah, we're sort of like 11 years old this year now. It was meant to be our 10th birthday last year. We had an epic party planned, which had to be cancelled, obviously, like all other events. We kind of class ourselves as a creative events agency. We're usually based in Soho, but we're not at the moment. And we organise all sorts of parties. We predominantly were and are, when we return to it, a live events agency, and we've got a real mixed bag of clients, corporate, press, PR clients, and private clients. So we do a real sort of like mixture of stuff, which really keeps things kind of like nice and different every day, So yeah, we're and most recently we've obviously been sort of like pivoting our asses off, basically turning to a virtual world, so which everyone's trying to do at the moment. So yeah, that's a little bit about us.
I mean we'll probably definitely get on to the pivot, but just looking through your guys' Instagram, like you've worked with some amazing clients. I mean, just got down here, like you helped people brush their teeth with AI with Oral B. You've done a lot of press work for like Dune London, World English. I mean, looking through the pictures, I was getting really jealous, load of FOMO, and I had to stop when I think you had like a corporate party and there was like a Jurassic Park themed booth. And I was just like, look, I've got to stop myself because where we are at the
It is
moment.
really cool. No, it is. And you know what, the wonderful thing about events is that you really can get lost in your imagination if the client lets you, and with our product launches, it's about bringing their product to life, around their messaging and their branding, which is always really exciting, always a challenge that we take on, and with sort of like real gusto, really gusto. Is that the right word?
Bit of gusto. I think it's gusto.
Real gusto.
Yeah.
And then and with private events, I guess private events and corporate events, it's the same sort of thing. It's really, we're very lucky that we've got some wonderful clients who really trust us,
Yeah.
And so they kind of pretty much give us a brief to very simple briefs normally, and we dive into them, we put our creative spin on them, and we come out with sort of like some really, you know, my team are amazing that are around me, and they come out with some really fantastic ideas. So yeah, we've worked on some really exciting things, from Christmas parties with photo booths and crazy entertainment. We do a big summer festival usually every year for one of our big corporate clients with 4,000 people. And we do lots of shoe stuff, lots of beauty things. It's lots of fun, and we get very creative, which is what we love.
Yeah, I think one of my favorites was you had like a winter installation inside, and it was just this massive room, and there was like just all these balloons going up the side, all silver and everything. It just looked pretty magical, to be honest.
Oh yeah, that was lovely. Actually, that was our House of Jane, because every year we normally do sort of a salesy type thing. So like we open up, we take over a venue ourselves, with sort of some of our event partners, and we dress it different ways, different kind of like themes and stuff, and we invite our clients and prospective clients kind of along to say hi and have a drink. It normally ends up kind of like dancing and lots of cocktails, and that was one of those. That was a House of Jane, with Bubblegum Balloons did that for us, which is one of our sort of balloon partners. It looks great. You can do a lot with a balloon. And you know, when I first started events, which was kind of 22 years ago, a balloon table centerpiece was the thing. And I used to go to meetings and people used to want teddy bears and balloons. I kid you not, like teddy bears and balloons on a string, just kind of like in the middle of a table. I can't think of anything worse right now. And so when balloons came back into kind of like fashion and back on trend again, I just thought, oh my God, what is this going to be like? Are we going back to like, you know, like the early 20s, late 90s? And actually the balloon installations you can get now are just phenomenal. We did one for the Gordon Ramsay group where we did 10,000 pink balloons for Valentine's Day a few years ago through one of their restaurants, and it just looked epic. So yeah, you can do amazing things with balloons.
Yeah, and I think you can. Yeah, you said it right there. You can do some amazing things. I remember there was something in America, I think 20 years ago, where they had something like 300,000 balloons or something. They just let it go outside of a net, and I mean, I think they got in trouble for it because it just left a lot of litter and everything. But yeah, just
I
the
can
sight,
imagine.
just the sight of it was incredible.
Yeah, they are.
But yeah, I mean, moving on to kind of obviously coronavirus hits, like what was the kind of initial reaction? Like how did you guys kind of initially cope, and then kind of what measures did you take, and how did you kind of adapt to it?
Well, I mean, it was for the event industry, it was I guess towards the end of February, I had a few friends that were traveling as well. So, and they started coming back, like you, they started coming back. And I was like, what are you doing? And there's like a virus thing. And we just wanted to get home. And I was like, that'd be ridiculous. Like, come on, it's going to be over within like, you know, it's not going to come here.
Yeah.
I was really one of those kind of like, why would you leave your holiday? Why would you leave your travel? And then sort of like over February last year, I was a bit like, oh, this is getting a bit serious. And then literally overnight, kind of in March, we had events in March and April, and literally overnight at the beginning of March, everything was just cancelled. I actually had a new member of staff that was starting on the 16th of March, who she did start, and she's still with me today, thankfully. And it was strange for her. You know, we basically stopped going into the office straight away, just from a safety perspective for my team. We've got an office in Soho. So we then spent the first few weeks really kind of like just talking with clients about kind of cancellations and this whole force majeure cancellation policy, and, you know, money back, and negotiating and trying to get them to postpone rather than cancel, and, you know, really trying to work with them. I mean, we've got quite strict cancellation policies, but when you're thrown into a situation like this, it's no one's fault. You know, okay, it's force majeure, of course it's no one's fault, but you know, you just kind of like get to a situation, how can we help each other, how can we all work together? And we were hoping and praying and really truly thought that we wouldn't be in this situation for very long, you know, and we were sort of saying we'll come back to it in the summer, you know, and obviously that didn't happen. So over the course of like last year, really, I guess there was an element of sort of firefighting, and trying to just keep the business afloat. And furlough was incredible. We haven't been able to get many grants from Westminster Council. We haven't been able to get anything for our business rates or anything like that. We're not hospitality, we're not retail. It's been quite frustrating, kind of like the event industry has been kind of left out a lot, but furlough has been a godsend for us. And so I was able to put the team onto furlough and kind of, step back into the role myself a little bit, into the event manager role. Kind of, I've obviously stepped away from it over the last sort of 5 or 6 years, into more of a kind of like CEO role, sort of managing the business rather than events. So I kind of had to step back into it again, which I'm not going to lie, absolutely loved. And I really missed it, really missed my party planning roots, and just trying to kind of work with our clients. After we realized that things weren't going to be improving anytime soon, we sort of dived into the virtual world and just kind of like soaked up as much as we could, because we hadn't done much virtual before, to be honest. We'd obviously, we knew of Zoom and all that sort of stuff, but we hadn't really done many events because we were always doing them live. We'd streamed stuff and bits and pieces for clients in conferences and things, so it wasn't kind of alien to us at all, but it wasn't kind of like second nature like live events are to us. So we just sort of dived in and kind of upskilled massively. My team did a lot of courses, upskilling themselves, kind of like, so we were more so we had more skills in house, like SketchUp and CAD and Photoshop and all those sort of practical designy things that really help in design, in events. So we upskilled a lot, and just then worked with our clients to try and help them pivot their events, and so obviously meanwhile pivoting ourselves.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've kind of, obviously when it's hit, it's no one could have imagined what it would be like, and I don't think many people would have prepared for it, but it just sounds like you've gone about it the right way. And I just love what you said about the firefighting aspect, because I think not only is that in business, but it's also in personal life. Like, people are firefighting for their own personal lives. I think mental health has taken a massive hit, and I think just people trying to adapt and everything, it has been really tough, and it's great to hear that you've adapted well, and you're spending the time to kind of, once you're coming out of this, you'll be ready for probably a lot more than you were before. Because I think there is not going to be like a normal we're going to go back to. It's going to be sort of, people are going to want to go back to events, and events are going to be massive. There's also going to be this element of, now we can kind of adapt the events and kind of push them further with this new technology that's kind of being incorporated. I mean, is that how you kind of see things going?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. I think as human beings, we are all about in person, in real life, experiences. So we will come back to it. I don't think it's going to be as quickly as people will feel comfortable going to a restaurant. I think once restaurants and pubs open, I think people will feel more comfortable going to those first. I think events will really be the last thing to come back, because the mentality of coming back to going to an event with 50, 100, thousands of people, it's going to be quite a sort of challenge to get over mentally. Do I want to be in a space with this many people, not knowing if they're okay, so, and I think from a corporate perspective, from some of our clients, from an employer perspective, I think it's going to be a bit of a wait before they actually decide that they're comfortable putting their staff in that position as well. So from an events perspective, it's definitely going to take a little bit more time. I really hope that things like festivals and stuff will come back. I think public events will come back quicker than sort of corporate ones, for example. But then the idea of a hybrid event is absolutely kind of the way to go. Like, I just sort of had I did a presentation the other day actually about kind of like events in a post-COVID world, and we talked about this, and about hybrid being the sort of the way forward, because you imagine sort of like the reach you get from a virtual event, and how you can literally be global now, and then the experience you get from a live event, and actually the overall experience, and then merging those two things together. Why would you lose either of them if you can have both of them? Like, happy days. And I definitely think the hybrid setup is going to be what's going to be driving the events industry going forward, for sure. And certainly virtual, and then adding on the live bits as we can, kind of like, as they become more and more, people become more and more comfortable with it. So definitely.
And Yeah, you're right with the reach as well. I mean, you look at kind of events in the past, obviously massive events like World Cup finals, you see like music events, TV events, like obviously the reach on television and now streaming services and YouTube. It's kind of opened the doors really for
Mm,
a lot of companies, a lot of people. I think as well with this hybrid model, it's not just events, it's obviously the way we're working now. I think Spotify announced that they now are offering all their staff the opportunity to either work in the office or at home or abroad,
yeah,
anywhere, or a mix in between. And I think now that now that
yeah.
it's a lot more open that we can kind of work from wherever.
It is, but the world is a smaller place, isn't it, really? And and what's exciting about that is that you can also recruit from anywhere in the world if you're remote. So you don't have to have somebody who's within a sort of 20-mile radius of Soho to be able to get into the office every day. You can actually get the best out there that might be based in, I don't know, China, Australia, wherever they are, kind of like Europe somewhere. So that's really exciting. So from an employer perspective, it's really opened up this world of kind of talent. And going to your point about Spotify treating their employees, we've been working quite a lot with some of our corporate clients on staff engagement, staff motivation, staff well-being, and going back to your point about mental health and it's a super important point. And I'm actually just in the process of doing a course myself, just as a kind of like for an amazing charity called Eventwell, which is a charity set up to talk about mental health within the events industry, which is kind of so important. It's a stressful job at the best of times, let alone in a pandemic. So I think it's really important that we look after our staff. As an employer myself, I have a huge responsibility to the people that work for me, and we've had lots of tears, we've had lots of laughs, we've had lots of really deep and meaningfuls over Zoom over the past 12 months with my team, which I think is really important, to be open and transparent and listen and I think, and to keep people motivated. And so we've been, from our own experiences, as well as other ones that we're hearing, we've been talking with our clients and working with our clients to actually help them from a sort of internal communications perspective, from a well-being perspective, keep their staff motivated and on board and kind of, and as balanced as we can be while working remotely, which is tough
Yeah.
at the best of times.
Yeah, and I think it's really good to hear that, because I know people have adapted to remote, but there is this sort of burnout that people are now getting. There's also, obviously, you were talking about how you've kind of had kind of heart to hearts over Zoom and everything, but obviously some people might find it difficult to do that over remote, over a video call, and they might feel a bit more distance. And there might be some companies where there aren't people kind of above them who are looking at their health in that way, and they might be getting lost. So yeah, sounds like a really good charity. It sounds like it's really good that you're kind of working on something like that.
Yeah, I think we just need to all talk about it more, don't we? With anything, with any sort of like uh, charity, or kind of like any sort of any issues that we've got, we need to be talking about them loudly so that other people feel comfortable talking about them. And I guess I'm trying to do everything that I can do with my small business to help everybody sort of stay happy, stay balanced, stay kind of healthy. So yeah, it's a big subject, and we just need to talk about it a little bit more, don't we, to make everybody else talk about it. So
yeah, and you were kind of talking about positivity kind of with your company through, I think you said you had kind of campaigns on, was it Meditation Monday and positive
yeah, we did. So
notes?
right at the beginning, yeah, we kind of had a little bit of an overhaul of our kind of like, we were thinking what we're going to do with our Instagram, because it's basically all our events. We post about our events, and we haven't got any. And how long can you be doing sort of like throwback Thursdays? Oh, this is an event we did last year. Oh, this is an event we did last. So we thought, let's have a little rethink of our social media strategy, and we put together these kind of like these pillars, and one of which was our corporate social responsibility pillar, where we started looking at different charities that we wanted to champion throughout the year, so we started doing that. And at the same time, we also were kind of like, we thought about, well, what do events bring? Events bring positivity, they bring smiles to people's faces. And so we came up with positive notes, which we teamed up with one of our entertainment agencies, 8 Ray Music, we did a series of kind of songs, like live musicians at home, doing little kind of covers and just posting them as positive notes on our social media for no other reason, just to kind of like hear a live musician singing one of your favorite songs, which went down really, really well. And then we also started doing Meditation Monday, and one of our team members said that she would happily sort of like volunteer and led a meditation session, just 10 minutes on a Monday morning, just to kind of like bring yourself back into a space, back into yourself and set yourself up for the week. And again, that was also really kind of well received, and we did that for a while. We've actually just started reposting them again, just sort of just why not, we've got the content there, so get people breathing and kind of like realigning in this crazy time. So yeah, we tried to stay positive, we really did, as much as we could, and then be honest about the downtimes, and I think that's important to sort of understand and respect the roller coaster.
I mean, being transparent is, I think, so valuable now, especially with kind of customers and just people in general being so aware of like different types of brands and kind of brand messaging. It's just good to be kind of honest, and it's good to hear that. And I mean, I wish I knew about your Meditation Monday. There's been some Sundays where kind of like, oh god, here's another week, and it's just another week just indoors doing nothing, doing work but doing nothing.
But I think, when you're saying about kind of going back out, once the pandemic is over, in terms of working remotely, and some people do struggle working remotely for sure. And I think once the pandemic is over, I don't think it's going to be a case of that you're going to be having to work from home. I think part of the struggle is that you have to work from home, and you have to be in your house with probably your partner or your flatmates doing the same thing, with or without children running around as well at the moment. Whereas when it ends, all these companies that are thinking about, removing their, downsizing offices and things like that, to sort of save on money and allowing people to be more flexible, more remote. At least you have the flexibility when that happens, to be able to go into the office a couple of days a week, to be able to go and sit in a cafe and have a different environment and be around people. I think at the moment, the hardest thing is knowing that if you don't have an office, you're potentially sitting on the bed with a box and your laptop on a box, you've got all sorts of setups, whereas when we are allowed to sort of like venture out again a bit more, then I think the working remotely will have a different meaning.
And I think especially with kind of people who are new into their roles, they might be feeling a bit distant from kind of their own, like their co-workers, and it might just kind of learning the job role, because I think from experience, sometimes it can take kind of 4 to 6 months to properly kind of engross yourself with the role, and it's probably taken a lot longer through just being fully remote. So I'm fully on board. It's like the hybrid way of life.
We're actually talking to some clients at the moment about one particular client, about how we can help them kind of like improve their onboarding process, because that's exactly it. They would normally have everybody come together as every month or every week or whatever to do this onboarding process, and now they're all doing it from home, and it's just falling flat, and it's just not working anymore. So we're working with a few people, with one particular client at the moment, about how we can kind of like ramp that up really and engage them a lot more, which is the buzzword really at the moment, is keeping people engaged.
There's so many buzzwords, aren't there? There's engaged, there's the new normal, there's remote. Even the hybrid now, I think, is becoming a bit of a buzzword. But I mean,
it is.
I think what I'd like to know as well is, obviously it's going to be a long time before it goes back to normal, but do you see any kind of key trends or things that you probably want to try out, like when these hybrid kind of events start to come back? Is there any like really cool technology that you want to incorporate?
Well, there's loads of tech out there. I mean, I guess there's loads of platforms and portals. People are calling it all sorts of different things, really. I think for us, really, we are sort of trying to, like you were saying earlier about kind of like people getting tired of kind of like being online. There's Zoom fatigue, another kind of like buzzwords kind of thing that everyone's getting at the moment, which I totally understand. I am too. I'm so done with like looking at my face. I'm just going so I to be honest, I think it's going to be I know I'm moving away from the tech side a little bit here with this, or the answer to this question, but we have thought quite a lot about this. And I don't know if you were really into any of this before the pandemic, but we loved as an agency and personally, those really sort of immersive kind of like experiences you could go to, you know, at places like the Vaults in London and stuff, you know, where you could get a ticket to a sort of like another world almost, you know, and you would have entertainment walking around and smells and tastes and all that sort of stuff, you know, and it would be like, you know, almost like walking around a theatre really kind of thing, you know, with people sort of acting around you, which is crazy. So we're sort of really keen to see a move towards an immersive event, but with a hybrid element. So allowing people who can't actually make it there, not necessarily because of the pandemic, but because maybe they can't get out, they can't get to the country, they can't, you know, and actually having them being able to experience that from wherever they are, and almost having the same experience, you know, through the internet, through their kind of like whatever portal they're choosing. That's kind of like how we see it. So this immersive hybrid events is we see it the way forward, because everyone's going to want that experience again. They're going to want to start doing things again, you know, whether it's going out to eat, but just having a different experience, having more to it, kind of like, you know, just kind of like exploding the experience a little bit more now, because we've just been so kind of like we've been on this real sort of flat path for the last kind of like 12 months almost. I mean, it's been a roller coaster, but we haven't been able to go out. We've been in one place, you know. So I think getting people out and about and getting them immersed in these kind of like wonderful experiences is going to be the way forward, and allowing people to do that remotely from wherever they are as well. So kind of creating a hybrid option.
Yeah, because I read an article the other day, and I think it's Tobacco Docs have just announced that they're actually creating a Tobacco Docs virtual. So they're building their event space just in the virtual world, and then people can have like corporate events, other type of events, just all built so that people can access it from wherever. Which it just that sounds really cool.
There are lots of people are doing that, and actually it's, you know, relatively easy to do. Like one of the relatively easy, it's obviously quite difficult, and it's, you know, requires quite a lot of skill, but lots of people are doing it, and we are finding, actually I think one of the venue agencies that are in London, they at the beginning of all of this, they basically went to all the venues and just started doing 360 videos of all the venues that were on their books, knowing that they wouldn't be getting any live inquiries. And so now they have all this amazing 360 video footage of these amazing spaces in London that are just sitting empty right now, which you can then turn into virtual spaces, you know, into a virtual environment, which I think is really exciting to be able to do. So you can take your iconic London venues, for example, you know, one of them, and put your event in there, or your conference or whatever. So we're actually at the moment talking to and working with one of our production partners. They've developed a new concept called Smart Stage, which is kind of like I guess a glorified green screen, if you like, sort of with them, and in that you can create these kind of like environments, these virtual environments, and then you can move around the stage, and it is actually a physical stage, but you're seeing kind of like all the CGI on top of it, so you're actually being able to move around it to different places within the environment. And so as somebody who's watching, you're kind of really getting the sense that they're moving around a world, which is really cool. And you can obviously, with graphics and kind of, you can create amazing things, you know. So that's really exciting for us. Kind of, we're going to incorporate it into a conference in April as well, which is going to be quite cool. And again, it's more engaging than just sitting on a Zoom like this.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This bringing together kind of events of before to the virtual immersive thing now, you can go beyond what is literally physically possible with these type of events. I mean, I think the other day we were playing poker, and they've now got this poker VR, so you can be immersed in a table with random people, pretending like you're at the table, play poker. Like it's just a new experience. And I think it's so cool, and it's really good to see how fast this transformation into this new technology has come as well. And it's good to see.
Well, do you know what? I think, you know, we've seen a kind of like a 10-year kind of jump in technology and in so much in the last 12 months. You know, 10 years worth of change almost in 10 months, which is crazy. But it is really exciting. I think the funny thing is, when we're looking at doing VR events, and we always sort of talk to our sort of VR partners about doing them, and they're like, the problem is that they're not, you can't really get any headsets at the moment. And you're like, oh, okay. They're like, so all well and good doing these VR events, but actually you physically can't get the VR headsets because they're all sold out, or they're all like on back order, and funnily enough, the same goes for cardboard. I don't know if you've seen it recently in the news, but we've been feeling the effects of the cardboard shortage in the world. I kid you not, for the last few months, because one of our other things that we're doing are creative mailers for a lot of our press clients. We're helping them to sort of like package up their products and send it out to kind of like influencers and people like that, in creative ways, because obviously they're getting lots of packages every day, so they've got to stand out. So we're helping them do that, and just literally a cardboard box is proving so difficult right now. And then I think I saw an article the other day on Wired about kind of about how Amazon have basically bought up the majority of the world's cardboard stock. So it's crazy, the little things that are coming out of this pandemic actually, and the challenges that we're having to face, the big ones and the little ones.
I'm aware of the cardboard shortage. It actually reminded me of one of my first experiences with VR, where you could buy, I think they might still do it, but you can buy like a cardboard cutout and then put your phone into the cardboard cutout. And that was one of my first experiences of it. And obviously it's come a long way.
And how was that? I never actually tried the cardboard one. Was it all right though? Did you really feel immersed?
I mean, but at the time, this is like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. But yeah, I think I did. I think I watched like a video of a roller coaster and things like that. I don't think you could move about back then, but yeah, it was really, really cool. But no, I think
it is cool.
Yeah, I think probably what I want to kind of find from you now is, what do you want? Like, if money was no object, and the world had gone back to normal, realistic normal, what would be your dream event to host? What would be your dream event to put on?
For somebody else or for me?
It can be both. It can be either.
Funny, because I asked my huddle guest this when we were doing our huddles last year. I think it's and I guess if it's carte blanche and literally kind of like the world is your oyster, isn't it really? So I'm going to say for me, so I would definitely go away for a massive party. I would take I would hire a private plane. I would take 50 friends plus partners on it, and and family, and hire a villa, a hotel, a complex, whatever is out there, with a pool, and just have barbecue after barbecue after barbecue, with cocktails, beer, wine, whatever and great music, and just dance. Do you know what? I really miss dancing with people.
We
have our little kitchen discos on a Saturday night, but it's not quite the same. I just miss dancing, really going out all out. So I think I would just get loads of people together and just go somewhere lovely hot outside and have a really big sort of like rave.
I'm getting like 5
doesn't even need to be fancy.
I'm getting 5 festival vibes, like when you were first describing it, like we're gonna go to like a private island, private jet, villa. I was like, maybe you could do 5 festival, but how it was meant to be done,
but better.
I mean, I echo
that would be good.
I echo the kind of sentiment of wanting to go somewhere warm. I think when we can, I think everyone's just going to be on a plane trying to get somewhere warm, trying to kind of just make up for lost time almost.
Definitely. That's one of the things that I really miss actually, is just my freedom of movement, like just being able to go where I want to go and jump on a plane, where I'm certainly a big traveler, and I love kind of going and visiting. I've got friends that live all over the world, and especially Europe, and I really miss just being able to just jump and go to Barcelona for the weekend. And it doesn't sound like it's very big, but I really do miss that so much, and that's what's getting me down quite a lot, knowing that I just can't go anywhere. So definitely.
It's almost this, like, at the moment it's like a sense of acceptance. It's like you can't accept you have to accept like elbow bump people. You have to kind of keep your distance. I mean, I think that's going to be something that people are going to have to readapt to, is the distance thing. And I think handshakes might be like a thing of the past anyway.
Yeah, and do you know what it was? I was thinking about this the other day, because we're kissers in our kind of like business. If we know our client, we'll generally kind of like go in for a kiss. You know, it's a bit European kind of thing. You know, I've often got caught out because in Austria you do two, and then in England you do one. You know, you're a bit like oh. But we are generally kind of like, you know, air kisses kind of thing. And so we're not going to be able to do that. Like, you're not, and it's going to be, you know, I'm not a kind of like elbow bump sort of girl. I mean, we've been sort of fist bumping here when we see people, but with, you know, family or whatever. But I just, it's something's going to change for sure. You know, like how are we going to interact when we are actually back together? That's something that I haven't really. I don't know what we're going to be like, you know, as humans. I think that we will slip back, though. I do. Yeah. I think there will be back to what we know, because I think it's not just that it's the old normal, what was normal. I think it's just what's inside us, to be able to touch and feel and hug. A hug is like, you know, massive.
Yeah,
really miss hugs, you know.
I mean,
we hug obviously at home a lot, but you know, just being able to hug other people and just be like close. And I think we will get back there, because I think we have to. I think as human beings we have to.
Yeah, I think a hug can be very powerful if someone's upset, or even if a celebratory hug, it sometimes it means the world. And I think now that we've kind of taken it for granted, it's going to be, when it goes back, I think people are just going to like enjoy it a lot more, and just
even more special. Definitely.
Yeah,
well, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining me today, Alex. It's been a really, really good conversation. It's been really nice hearing about how you guys have adapted, how you've kind of survived the events industry. And yeah, I hope everything does kind of turn back normal and you kind of thrive from what you've done and how you've adapted.
Thank you very much. Me too.
Yeah, and if
please,
and if there is anyone listening or watching who wants to kind of find out more about you guys, where can they head to? How can they contact you?
So we've got a fantastic new website, plainjaneevents.com. And then obviously we've got our Instagram as well, which is Plain Jane Events. Just you can contact us on either of those. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the pod, subscribe for more and check us out at fortnight.studio.